Welcome to the Western Wisconsin Journal. My name is Mary Claire Olson Potter. I want to remind you to get out and vote on Tuesday, April 6th at the Village Hall. Let's meet our next candidate, Amy Noonan. Please tell us about yourself, your background, and your qualifications.
I'm Amy Noonan. I live about a block south of the Village Hall here in North Hudson. I moved to the area about 5 years ago to be closer to my two adult sons and now actually two little grandsons. I grew up in a large working class family in a small river town on the east side of the state. For most of my working years, I was a teacher. I started out in Minneapolis public schools. I then spent some time in the Green Bay schools. But the greatest period of time in my teaching years was in a very small community, Port Edwards, Wisconsin, in the center of the state, where I eventually became K-12 art teacher. It also was a river town. I'm kind of seeing a pattern here. And there I learned to wear many hats because I was the only person who taught what I did and had to represent our district in the region and in the state. Now that I live over here and I'm not teaching full time, I do still substitute teach for the Hudson School District, mostly right up at North Hudson Elementary School, which I love. So I know a lot of the kids. I'm also a member and work at the YMCA, just a few shifts here and there, though right now I'm on furlough. I also teach and volunteer at the Phipps Art Center downtown. And I am a member and volunteer at the Hudson Grocery Co-op. I also recently became a volunteer foster dog care provider at Coco's Heart Dog Rescue. In addition to that, I have been involved in some fun community art projects around the region since moving here. I am a homeowner and a taxpayer and have been for many, many years. And I have been in a number of very different situations and communities, which I think really increases my perspective. As I said, I was a teacher and I learned a wide variety of skills that I practiced and honed over years of teaching and working with diverse groups, which I believe helped me to provide leadership, build community, solve problems creatively, and to be organized and carry out multiple projects at the same time. I also just love people. I feel that I can get along with and communicate with just about anyone.
Okay, thank you. Here's our next question. Why are you interested in serving on the North Hudson Village Board?
Well, first of all, I'm at a place in my life where I have both time and energy to give outside of my job and family, which hasn't always been the case. Secondly, I love it here and I plan to live here indefinitely. So I am motivated to help our community grow in a healthy and sustainable manner. And last of all, I have a perspective and a voice that I believe will add depth and balance to our current board.
Okay, thank you very much. And our third question, what do you see is the most important issue facing the village in the next 2 years and beyond?
Well, most of us are aware that we have the big 35 North 6th Street project already underway, but our entire driving season, spring through fall, it'll be happening this year. And for a period of time, from what I can tell, about 2 weeks, the bridge is going to be closed. Not only will that affect our residents, most of us come and go on a daily basis over that bridge, it will also put an additional burden on our businesses right as we hope to be coming out of the pandemic. And so our board needs to be looking for ways to address that. One of our trustees, Tim Zai, is spearheading a project called Strive to Survive, which I would like to get involved in to help support our businesses. Also, we are in the process of negotiating a new water and sewer agreement, which is a pretty complicated process with the city of Hudson. That will be very, very important. We now have a fully staffed police force for the first time in a while, and I would like to take a look at if we can consider new creative ways to use our officers in positive ways that directly impact our community in addition to law enforcement. And I also, all of us know that North Hudson and this entire area is growing at a tremendously fast rate and will continue to, in my opinion, possibly dangerously fast. And not only does this growth put additional pressures on our infrastructures, roads, sewer, village services, also on our waterways, shorelines, forested areas, and green spaces, which, at least for me, is one of the reasons I moved to this area. Also, I would like to see if we can find ways to make hearing from and engaging our residents in our governing process and the workings of our village more easy and direct, especially for our busy young working families, many of whom are new to our community.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our fourth question. Do you see any areas where the village could reduce spending without reducing services?
Well, that's a tough one if you ask me. Anyone who runs a household budget or a business knows it's very hard to increase services without increasing spending. I do feel our current board is managing our tax level very well. And I think that sometimes we think the village can do things that perhaps it can't. And a perfect example would be when I got my property tax bill this year and I took a look at it, my taxes had gone up and I thought, well, what's this about? When I looked more closely, I realized that the percent that was going to run our village was actually lower, and the increase was at the school district level. And sometimes that is not something we can control directly in our community, and it sometimes has more to do with county or state, and sometimes even federal funding formulas. Obviously, those are things I'm going to be learning a lot more about. That said, I do think we need to, as a board, continually look at how our money is spent and where we can make changes. For example, when is it more cost effective to train our small employee staff versus contracting services out? When is it better to purchase equipment or software versus lease, or sometimes nowadays subscriptions that update for technology can be more cost effective? I know that we are seeking grants regularly. I think we need to continue to do that. That is something I have experience with as a teacher, and to continue to look for opportunities to partner with our neighborhood communities. I also wonder if there's ways we could engage community volunteer experts for very specific tasks that maybe we don't have the skill set to do on our small staff. And I also think we need to explore using our existing staff in new and creative ways, something as a teacher I always had to be doing. There was never enough money. There was never enough time. We had to figure it out.
Thank you. And moving on to our fifth question. Do you see any things that could be done in the next 2 years that would improve the municipal operations in the village? And a follow-up to that, what would be your ideas on how to improve these operations?
From what I can see, our current administrative and public works staff is capable, well-trained, and hardworking. I think it's a challenge with so few employees. That being said, it's always important to be looking for ways to increase efficiencies with our operations. And I do have some ideas, but I think before I can be very specific in recommendations, I will have to get deeper involved with the existing board and learn the inner workings of what makes our village tick. A couple of simple, affordable ideas I do have, which I feel would improve the quality of living for our residents and help build community, are some kind of a monthly or quarterly e-newsletter. We could put the word out on projects that are coming up in the village, seek feedback easily from our taxpayers, maybe even have like a featured resident or employee so we can get to know each other a little bit. I also would like to see us maybe host some get-togethers, which I think would be very affordable or maybe even free for targeted groups. Obviously, some of this might have to wait until it's safe to gather in groups, but some of it could be done outside. A couple of ideas that I have are for our seniors, maybe a cards, coffee, and conversation once a month in the morning on a weekday. For our young parents who are home raising babies and toddlers, this is a very important time, but it can be very isolating for those folks. If we could host a little play date once a month or quarterly, so the parents could have other adults to chat with, their kids could have someone to play with. If we don't have space now, before we get further in our initiative to have a community center, which is underway, we could meet in the parks, which we have abundance of. Another idea would be for our young working families, which I think is a group we really need to reach out for. I've been there working full-time as a teacher and a mom running, taking care of my home. I had very little time to be involved in the government of my community, but maybe a quarterly make it session where our working families or young families who are busy with sports and running their kids to and from school could gather and kind of do a seasonal make it project. The kids can make something and have quality time with their parents. The parents can visit with one another and they can take a little decoration or something home for their kids. So just kind of a fun get together. We are working on this already as a village, like I said, with our upcoming community center. The village, well, it's not the village, the Pepperfest organization has purchased a house right next to our village center, and we'll be seeking funds and working to develop that for us, which I think will be a wonderful community asset.
And thank you so much for joining us. And our final question is, are there any additional comments that you would like to make now?
Well, first I'd like to thank the River Channel and its staff for giving all of us candidates an opportunity to share our perspective and to be heard. And I would like to ask each of you listening today to take it one step further. Obviously, you're more involved than probably the average person if you're watching the River Channel Candidate Forum, which is great. But I'm also hoping that you will, is this going to be backwards? I guess I won't be able to show you. I might have to just tell you. Check out all of the candidates' websites and Facebook pages. Mine is very simple, votenoonan.org. It's on all my signs if you forget. And take a closer look at what we stand for and what we represent. And last of all, regardless of who you support, please get out and choose to vote on Tuesday, April 6th. Thank you for this opportunity and for your time.
I'd like to thank the candidates so much for joining us and remind everyone to get out and vote on Tuesday, April 6th. Thank you so much.